Hey everybody, how are we doing on this fine Tuesday evening? All is well down here. We're in Central Florida and enjoying it, prepping for OAX and so many other things. But tonight we get to do a Heritage Signature Auction preview, and it's another full slate of wonderful auction pieces that I think you're going to be impressed by. And of course, I see some people are saying that their wives have hidden their wallet. I get that too. Maureen has almost done the same thing to me, but you know. We're allowed to look and learn and, maybe pick something up, in the next auction. But we've got no Nadia tonight. Joe's flying solo again. One of these days we will get Nadia back on camera with us, but it won't be this evening. So here, let me bring Joe into the show. Hey, Joe, how you doing?
All right, man. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I mean, like we were talking in the green room, it's been rather busy around here of late, but I'm sure it's been busy for you too. I mean, the auctions are definitely not slowing down in terms of pace and the number of lots people that you're engaging with all the time, and shows are back in force. I mean, are you getting around to any shows yourself, or are you staying put?
We have not. We only we've been making trips to consigners and everything else, but we passed on San Diego this year, and I'm kind of glad we did. There's a little bit of COVID floating around, and I think it's kind of back. I don't know. So, it's one of those things.
I did hear that. I guess from what was it? Dragon Con was one of the more recent ones. I heard a few of the artists and a few of my friends came back with COVID. So but it's not as bad as it was a couple years ago. But no, you still don't want it.
Yeah, no.
Hey, what does Knights of Old say? Bill, can Joe show us a close-up of the Zorro pulp painting? Which one is that? Is that on your? That's probably on your wall. You don't want to take any art off your wall, do you?
I don't know if I move the camera. Should I do that?
I don't know. You can if you can.
That's the cover of Catcher in the Rye, right? The best-selling.
That's what it looks like. Yeah,
America. But that's the Zorro up there. I can't.
Oh,
I can't it's like it's in the loft.
Nope. You can't. Sorry about that, Knights of Old. We can't look at that one tonight.
Yeah.
Maybe
Although I have a new one. I could show you a different one.
Yeah. What do you got?
I mean, it's not new. I've had it for many, many years, but I just had it reframed and cleaned. This is the cover of Black Mask Detective #1 from 1934.
Holy mackerel, that thing's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's this image, for those that know comic books, this image was almost traced for Detective Comics #1, the first DC comic, and then they had a relationship with this pulp, and later you had Black Bat Detective, the Black Bat appeared in these issues, so it's all becomes related, and this is the cover of issue 1. I mean, I don't know of many covers that exist at all. But.
Right. I mean, that's 89 years old. That's
yeah.
We don't get to see too many pieces that old in this hobby, unless it's like a Harriman or something. But wow, that's pretty impressive. But it's not hanging on the wall yet. You don't have a spot for it yet.
It was going to go next to the Zorro.
Well, there did appear to be some space up there.
Yeah. Oh, there's space. Yeah.
I mean, did you have any cleaning work done to the painting at all, or is that just?
I had it clean because it needed reframing and needed new varnish. So I had it cleaned and then varnished. So that's why it's got a nice a uniform appearance.
Right. No, I mean, well, as somebody even mentioned, the colors are so vibrant. I was going to say the same thing. It looks as good as the day it was painted. So, I mean, and that's the great thing about paintings like that is you can revarnish them. It's not doesn't do any damage to the paintings. By and large,
it's reversible. The varnish they use is very reversible. In fact, by conservation and restoration, supple. Here we go.
I was going to say, you're breaking up on me. Can you hear me okay? I think we have a delay.
Yeah.
Well, you want to rejoin and see if that fixes it? It's
I see you fine, but you're frozen.
One of us is frozen. Let's see who's frozen. Let the chat tell us. If it's me, I'll go yell at my daughters. Now they're saying we're unfrozen. But who was frozen? Was it Joe or I? No one's going to answer that question. It's making me think it's me. Oh, everybody's okay. Well, they say it was Joe. All right. Well, that's good. But you look fine now, Joe. Everything looks fine.
Okay.
You were talking about varnish. Varnish is, varnish is an okay thing in our hobby and in any restoration for paintings, because every painter, when they any painter that knows what they're doing varnishes their painting afterwards, because it makes all the color pop, and varnish will fade over time. So that's something that is in every restorer's playbook or artist playbook, honestly, if they're a painter.
And it's reversible, so that's why it's okay. It protects it. It makes it a little bit more supple, brings out the colors, but then it's also reversible, so you could do it again at any time.
Right. And was that on canvas or was that on a board?
Canvas. That's on canvas.
Wow. Well, congratulations for having that in your collection, Joe.
Yeah. Before I go any further, one of the reasons Nadia is missing is that today is my granddaughter's birthday, and she's staying up just to hear Grandpa say, "Happy birthday, Lily." So happy birthday, Lily. You can go to bed now.
Happy birthday, Lily. That's great.
Yeah. So great day.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good reason for her not to be on tonight. But hopefully, maybe before the end of the year, we can get her on, just even if just for an introduction, to remind people how, that Nadia is still around and well. I'm sure she's still setting up the house.
No, she's fine. She, she never was big on either getting on stage or doing interviews or anything like that. But if something like, like a different Frazetta or something like that comes up, she'll pop in.
All right. Well, why don't we get started?
Okay.
Since you mentioned Frazetta, obviously we are going to start off with the Frazetta. So let me share this screen and get to fill the space a little better. There we go. So Death Dealer 6 here from 1990, already at $1.5 million. So another signature Frazetta piece in a heritage auction. That's nice to see.
This painting was, we offered it once, and the person that purchased this ended up getting another Frazetta painting, and therefore basically felt that he's upgrading. So it's interesting because I really like this painting. The story behind the Death Dealer paintings were that back in the early 70s, when Frazetta was doing work with L. Sprague de Camp and Lynn Carter, the very well-known editors for sci-fi and fantasy, the guys that brought us back Robert E. Howard and Conan and all of that. He did a paperback called Flashing Swords. And in there, there was death. So they asked Frank to do his interpretation of death, and that's how he came up with the first Death Dealer. So then it became so popular, just the image, that then they started to write novels for the Death Dealer. And in 1980, this was done as a preliminary, and then that series ended. But then in the 90s, when Glenn Danzig wanted to start his comic book company and do the comic book Death Dealer, I actually went with him to go see Frank, and he sold him on the idea. And Frank had this prelim, and then he finished it as a full painting. So this really dates back. Its roots are back to the first Death Dealer, and it was always funny because Frank, when he would talk about it, he always shake his head when anybody brought up the Death Dealer. It's so popular. He said, everybody wants to do it. He said, I don't understand. You really can't do it. He doesn't have a face. He says, it was my concept of death. Nobody really knows what he wants. And then the first thing they asked me is, but Frank, what does he look like? And, Frank never thought that it was suited for all of these licensed products and stuff that came out later, the great statue that came out. But I mean, this is just classic Frazetta. It's the horses in motion. Most people never would do that head on and jerk the head sideways like that. The great snake, the foreground, the great, the forms, Frazetta, everything was about creating a form, coming up with the basic, and then, making it three-dimensional. And then at the very end, just adding in the detail. It's a great painting.
Definitely. So is this one, people are saying has a reserve, is that, or is just kind of it's starting at?
Yeah, it has a reserve at 1.5.
Got it. Well, I can't see how it doesn't hit that. At the end of the day, somebody's going to bid on it. Yeah. So Danzig is somebody I'd love to interview someday. Kind of interesting.
Well, Glenn's a very interesting guy. I mean, Glenn's a very interesting guy. When back in the day, way back in the day, I used to do, we're doing conventions in New York, and Glenn would work for a dealer called Phil Levy. And they would on a regular basis set up next to Nadia and I. And Glenn, at the end of the show, whatever money he'd make, he'd come over to my booth and he'd buy something. He'd buy something, whether it be Kirby or whether it was animation or, a really good page. He always had a great eye. And then one day, Phil's telling me, hey, Joe, that guy's a little dangerous. He's got a band, and he's I said, really, Glenn? I said, he's like a kid. Yeah, he's older than he looks. So then to my surprise, years later, he left. He went to California. I get a phone call. He heard that I had a whole bunch of Steranko work, Kirby, Adams. I had just gotten this group of material, and he says, "Hey, Joe, it's Glenn." I said, "Glenn, where have you been?" And he had already the Misfits and already started Danzig, and the whole bit, and off to the races.
Yeah, no, I mean you figure he's an important character in our hobby, really. I mean, not only as a buyer, a collector, and he was early, out there selling artwork at San Diego Comic-Con as well. Yeah. And so, yeah, he's just, I've never tried to reach out to him, but I would, one of these days through his site. I mean, I pop onto his site like once a month just to see if anything, changes on it or it gets added, but I should reach out to him because again, he's got some stories, I'm sure, if you'd be willing to talk about them.
Oh yeah,
kind of like Kevin Eastman has a lot of stories too.
I can give you an email if you need it.
Okay, I'll I've got some openings coming up in the fall, so we'll talk about that after the show.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. So another Frazetta here. This is one of the.
I mean, I could have put a dozen Frazetta pieces. You could see it in that banner above that, what you just clicked on, how many great drawings. I mean, there's some beautiful Frazetta. Look at that. I mean, pen and inks, watercolors, prelims, a whole range of things. We have later a page from Personal Love, pencil from the Arcanum book, another Danzig project that unbelievable. Frank had lost the ability to draw, and all of a sudden he starts picking up pencil, and he puts out all of those drawings in the Arcanum book. Amazing. But I picked this as representative because if you really look at this is like the epitome of Frazetta in the 50s when he was at the height of his inking, with the feathered technique and watering down his inks and very sensual, and everything he did was just beautiful. This was from a historic point of view, he was still he was approached to do a story for EC for the Shock Illustrated series, which were those magazines, and he was going to work with Wally Wood and do a story called Came to Dawn. So he starts working on it, and they're about, I don't know, halfway through or whatever, and they find out that the magazine's been canceled. So he just stopped what he was doing at that point. So there are panels that are complete, and then there are panels like this that 99% complete. But I love the fact that, you know, everything important is complete, and just the hair. So you see Frank's pencils there, and you see a classic signature.
Yeah, this is beautiful. And then there are a lot of those Came the Dawn pieces out there. I know well, there's several on CAF. I think there's one or two collectors who are always looking for them. And yeah, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I saw somebody mentioned, where was it? Brett Mixon asked a question about Frazetta art that's been asked, has the original art for John Keel paperback Strange Creatures from Time and Space ever turned up? Didn't that, or one similar to that? You know the image, right? I mean, I thought that
is that the one with the guy that's in the foreground, and then
and then wasn't it repainted to be a woman or something?
Yes, he did. He changed.
So we've seen that, haven't we? I feel like that either you and I have talked about it, or maybe I've had it on another show.
I don't know if it was sold from the Frazetta family. I offered it at San Diego many years ago, and people passed on it. It was one of the few paintings that didn't sell because he had changed it, and people, you know, didn't like when he changed things. You know, it hadn't looked like that for a while. He had already, as soon as he got it back, it changed. And then there's the guy in the foreground, and he changed it to a woman.
Correct. I feel like one way or another, I've talked about this piece on the channel. I'm not sure why or what for. If it wasn't a recap from Heritage, I don't know what it would have been when we would have done it. But I know we've talked about this piece, and one way or another. But so I'll have to kind of go back through some of my past shows to figure out when that was and what that was about.
But is that one of his favorite paintings? I mean, that's an unusual one to be a favorite. It's a nice painting. Don't get me wrong, but it's
yeah. John Romita Jr. Uncanny X-Men 200. This is probably like lots of comic art fans members, you know, gateway drug for Uncanny X-Men. You know, if they're still in their 40s, almost in their 50s.
1985, I always say, is the date for the millennials, because a lot of the millennials were born very early 80s, mid 80s. So, you know, when they go back to something, it's like they go back to this. So, you know, yeah, it's a really good cover. It's an anniversary, a special 200th issue. You've got Magneto in the middle, and you've got the X-Men surrounding him. I mean, it has everything you want in a cover. You got Wolverine. You got
Cyclops.
Oh, I mean, you got the whole team.
Rogue.
Yeah, you got the whole team.
Yeah, Brett said he hopes that Frazetta made the man into a naked woman. Yes, he did, Brett.
Yes, he did.
He wasn't satisfied until there was at least one naked woman in each of the names. But yeah, that was a nice piece. What do we have? 38,000. I mean, you know, this will be an interesting one to see where it goes. I mean, it's Dan Green inks, John Romita Jr. pencils, Prime anniversary issue. Yeah, this is a very memorable one.
Magneto and chains.
I think I'd probably prefer like issue 150, you know, as a Cockrum Magneto and yeah, that's like my era.
But 200's not
too bad.
We know you're a Cockrum. You know, guy. We know. I don't argue with you on that. I like it. I like it all.
Yeah. So hey, you Wolverine here from, and you know, you have Byrne and Cockrum on this one, are right with Dan Green inks on Iron Fist 15.
Well, this is a pretty historic one because this was Byrne's tryout for doing the X-Men. So this is that Iron Fist issue that features the X-Men. So here's you know, Wolverine, and he's got the new logo and coming in through the window. And this is the last issue, I think, of Iron Fist. And then Byrne, I think within a month, takes over X-Men with X-Men 108.
Mhm.
So this is really, you want to say it, this is Byrne's first X-Men, but it's got that cachet to it.
Yeah, not bad. And it's 45,000 right now. Yeah, that's again. And so just so everybody knows, I mean, we have what's the schedule on the auction closings too? They start on Thursday, and what time Central Time does it start closing?
I don't know. It's usually the platinum session usually begins at 1 or 2 o'clock. I don't have it in front of me, but
I don't either. But it's early afternoon, real early.
Oh,
so. But
most of the people that are on CAF know.
Oh, they know. See, they know better than we do. Somebody in the chat should have already answered that question for me.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's keep looking at stuff. We got a lot of good stuff to look at tonight.
Yeah. Here's an interesting one. This is the cover of Detective Comics 58. This has never been on the market. This is Fred Ray and Jerry Robinson. What a team for early Batman. And then this is an interesting one to discuss because if you look up the values of Detective Comics before this, right before and right after this issue, you might say a near mint copy is, I don't know, $5,000. This book is like $40,000. It's one of the rarest of the detective because it's the first appearance of the Penguin inside the book. So it's one of the key Golden Age books of one of the key villains. But in the world of original art, how important is it if the Penguin's not on the cover? Mm-hmm. I would argue, are you kidding? You're getting the cover of one of the most valuable and desirable Golden Age covers. And this came from the collection of Jerry Robinson or the Robinson family. It's the Robinson collection. I think I've probably told the story before, but the reason that something like this even exists is because Jerry was never intending to stay in the field. Here he is working alongside Fred Ray, might have roomed with him, Mort Meskin, Siegel and Schuster, even Simon and Kirby, and he absolutely adored the work that these guys were doing, and he appreciated it. So he would ask them, "Hey, what's going to happen to that art?" And they'd say, "Who cares? It's not worth anything. It gets destroyed by the printer." So he'd ask the editor if he could have put a note on it and it could be returned to him, and that he would. So anything that caught his eye that he thought was outstanding, he would ask for the piece to be returned to him. So that's how greatest Golden Age collection was formed, because Jerry had that foresight. So, this is one of those covers. Don't take too much of a look at the logo. Was put on an acetate just after it was sent to us, just to show the detective logo, but the artwork is oversized beyond the size of the borders.
Yeah, that's amazing that it survived, but wonderful that Jerry had the foresight to do that. Clearly there's a lot of other people think it's a valuable piece, and it is. I mean, you just don't see pieces like this.
Yeah, and this has been featured in museums. It's a prominent collector called me up and said, "Hey, Joe, you know why people aren't talking as much as they should about that cover?" I said, "I didn't know that, but why?" He said, "Because that book itself is a very rare book. That's a tough to find book. People are not familiar with that image because it doesn't turn up much." So, I mean, let me tell you, I'd love to have that cover.
Well, it's at 225,000 right now.
Yeah, and that's the reserve on that.
Oh, that is okay. So
I think that's a very reasonable reserve. I mean, I don't understand how something like that is not worth 10 times the value of the comic book.
It should be. Yeah. Well, we talk about that. We've been talking about that for a long time, Joe. It's like these comics can be worth so much. I mean, the artwork has to be worth 10, 20 fold of what a decent created book should be, because there's just one of them. Look at
it the other way around. How much is Iron Fist 15 worth that we just talked about? Nothing compared to how much is the X-Men 200. Relatively nothing. And yet the artwork is worth a fortune.
Yeah, no, very true.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great to see that on the open market.
That's a museum piece for anyone who gets it. And I would,
without question.
Yeah, I'd like to think that it's going to be bought by somebody who's knows the books. So they appreciate that part of it. But to me, in the future, that should be in a museum.
Definitely. So we got an Alex Raymond Flash. What is this?
Speaking of a museum piece, this is a beautiful page. One of the nicest pages that I've ever seen. This is a beautiful page. 1939 is a favorite of a lot of people because in 39, for some reason, in 37, in 38, he changed the style. It became a little bit more linear, and he made the pages smaller. In 39, it went back to being bigger than the 35s, 36s, and then all back to the dry brush and very lush, and especially that segment where they're inside the cave and you have these beautiful, look at those backgrounds with the shadows. You see that panel to the right, second, that top row. Look at the way the light reflects off the wall. Next, go up a little.
You mean on which one? On this one?
Up, like right there to the right.
See yes.
That? Oh, yeah. So he's adding. Yeah, I mean he's, and then of course if you know your Flash Gordon Star Trek connection, I don't know if we've discussed this, but this was where this scene where Lucas got Princess Leia's hairstyle for the famous scene, right, in the where they're going into the pit, and the story behind Flash Gordon and Star Trek is that Lucas and another guy approached King Feature Syndicate. Lucas really wanted to do a Flash Gordon movie because that was his favorite, and they laughed at him because he was a kid right out of film school. So that's why he decided to go ahead with it anyway, but he renamed it Star Wars.
Yes.
So this has a lot of history to it. It's beautifully rendered. If you know Flash Gordons, a lot of the Flash Gordons have very minimal backgrounds because he really focused on the figure work and really didn't have time, but not in this sequence. It's just beautiful.
Well, it's
and I will say, even though it's not written there, this comes directly from the family and has never been on the market before.
Oh, it wasn't included in the description?
No, I don't think so.
That's too bad. I think those are good selling points, though. Typically, right? I mean,
we need to save a lot of these, precious tidbits for you. That's why we do it. And
I appreciate that.
You and your audience, Bill. That's what it's all about.
Well, we talk about that a lot. That fresh to market. You can't get any more fresh than that. At the end of the day, if it's never been on the market, that makes it all the more special. Yeah. So now we got a Wally Wood. What is this? A World of Wood? Oh no, it's a Dave Stevens.
Yeah, Dave Stevens.
How cool is that?
Doing an homage to Wally Wood. It's a beautiful blend of Wally Wood type characters as drawn by Dave Stevens and using that inking technique, and he just did a masterful job here. Beautiful girl as typified by Stevens, and the creatures, the skulls, everything's spot on.
Yeah, I finally watched the Dave Stevens documentary like 3 weeks ago. So that was a lot of fun. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was just a really interesting vibe to kind of go through and see where his inspiration was, drawn from. And I mean, he's amazing. I wish I'd had the opportunity to meet him. I never did. Although I think he was at San Diego the first year I was there. But yeah, wow. I mean,
Dave was one of the nicest guys. I love Dave. He would come over to my booth every year. We'd go over there. We'd hang out together. He was a gentleman. He had a style about him, but really he was kind of a shy guy aside from his appearance. But yeah, the year we brought Frazetta, I mean, he could not have been. He was a guy. I mean, he came over. He's bowing at Frazetta. It was great. He's just great. It was very tragic, his early demise.
Definitely, and the value of his stuff keeps going up too. So that's, but deservedly so. I mean, there's just not. He was so slow and meticulous that there just isn't a lot of.
He was a perfectionist, and that's why he did so little work. I mean, he was he's a bit like Steranko. It had to be. He was really into the graphic design, which was just as important as the actual art. And then, he was meticulous in everything. Everything had to be perfect. I mean, this is already a 47,000, but still, there just aren't any great Stevens pieces like that out there.
Yeah. Then, I'm a big Thor fan, so. This one, I would take this one over the X-Men cover just because it's I've always loved this image, but just a fantastic cover by Pollard for issue 300 of Thor.
This is a lot of, very popular image. A lot of people, cite this as one of their favorite Thor covers. And you can see why. I mean, it's classic. He did a great job, Pollard, at this point in his career. And this one has all the detail, all the characters, and I think just as interesting. If people don't know who David Mizell is, you need to look him up. David Mizell is the guy that basically was instrumental in forming the Marvel Studios and convincing them to go with the other characters in Marvel to do their own films, and started the whole Iron Man and then Thor and everything like that. He was the executive producer of Iron Man 2, Captain America, the first event, on and on and on. And this comes from his collection. So that's a pretty cool piece. Nope. And now it's got the provenance to it. What's it at? How much is this at?
It's at 33 right now.
Wow. A Pollard cover, 33,000 out of the gate. Huh?
Now is this one? So it's got 1 day left. So it's probably in the Thursday auction.
Yes.
Yeah. Deserves to be. I've always liked Pollard stuff. He was. I don't know. Just had a nice style during that period. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Now we got a Hoberg and Cockrum Star Wars 5 cover. No, you have a Star Wars cover on your wall, don't you?
Yeah.
Look at it every day.
Yeah. Star Wars 12. That was the first Infantino cover. So even here, where Howard, he missed one, and they. As far as I know, this is the earliest Star Wars cover we ever offered. When do you see the cover of Star Wars 5?
Not too often.
Yeah, it features the Death Star, Luke, Han, Chewbacca, Millennium Falcon, and Hoberg would go on to become one of the artists that worked on the Star Wars strip. So it's not like he didn't have a connection to it, and he did a great job here. I mean, it's another great cover, piece of history. They don't come up, once they're sold, they go into people's collection and they're gone. We worked on this. The person who owned this contacted me for years, every time. Joe, man, it might be time to. What do you think? I'm really struggling with the idea of selling it, and then finally parted with it.
Well, parting with art is difficult, especially if you've had it for a long time and it was meaningful. I mean, it's not, because today it's not like it's easy to replace, and something like this, it's irreplaceable, right? At the end of the day. So you can see somebody's hesitancy about wanting to finally commit to doing something like that. But no, this is a great piece, issue 5 cover. I mean, yeah, that's amazing.
And you interviewed what's his name, Shooter, and I'm sure you discussed the importance of Star Wars to Marvel in 1977. Oh yeah. I mean, basically, Star Wars saved Marvel. Shooter will tell you now that he was brought over because Marvel was going to be sold. They were going down the tubes. Things were pretty bleak in the whole industry. I recently had lunch with Paul Levitz, and the state of the market back then was really harrowing. So it was Star Wars and a couple of other things that basically resurrected the market. So there's a lot of history to this.
Well, I hope Lucas is proud of that. Probably is, to a certain degree. I mean, considering his love for the medium.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. I mean, he gave Marvel the opportunity to do Star Wars before it was released in the film, in the cinema.
Well, he what are you going to say? He had a flair for things. He knew what was popular, but he probably he ran with things that were popular to him. Unfortunately, they struck a chord because they were obviously really they were important and influential, in popular culture at that time. I mean, he loved Westerns. He loved the samurai films. So, I mean, what he did was perfect. And we should all be grateful that he enjoyed comic art and illustration art and the masters of illustration as much as he did too. Because I mean, he's put together an amazing collection of art that we're one day going to get to go to that museum and enjoy it, ourselves. So
yeah, absolutely.
So let's see, what do we got here? This is a Conan 11 cover by Barry Smith from '71.
Yeah, how about that? They don't turn up often either. This is, Smith. He's just beginning to work on his what later became his classic style. This is against the 8-man, Thack. But it's 1971 Bronze Age classic cover by one of the top, artists. If you had to name, the top artists of the era that became the foundation of things, you got to put the New York School and Barry Smith in there.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, and this is kind of like really where his work started looking more refined. His inking style, just was really sharp. And it's funny, you can see this work here, and it carries through, his style. You can see it from here till even his recent work, right? Like from 10 or 15 years ago in comics, he still has that same brush style. I mean, it's pure Barry. I mean, so it's really nice.
Yeah. Fantastic. I mean, he was a big fan of the pre-Raphaelites. And
but you can tell by the color work, right? I mean, when you look at that and you compare that to the pre-Raphaelite movements,
and the delicacy of the background and all of that kind of stuff, I mean, that's what Barry was striving for.
Well, he was fantastic about it. I saw, number one Marvel fan said Lippincott helped with all of that. I'm not sure what you mean, Gary Lippincott, and I'm not sure what he helped with.
Oh yeah.
So let's see here and look at the next one here.
Here's another cover from the Robinson collection. This is unusual to have a number one Golden Age cover. This is Leading Comics number 1, 1941, Mort Meskin. And for those that may not know who Mort Meskin was, Meskin, by the artists and his peers, felt like he was the artist of that period. They adored his work. And Jerry loved Mort's work. I think he roomed with Mort. And again, when he had the opportunity to save the cover, he did. And this is, you had the Justice League of America, which back then was the Justice Society of America. And then these were the, I don't want to say secondary, but they are the secondary characters with, Green Arrow and the Vigilante and the Star-Spangled Kid and the Shining Knight. Speedy and the Crimson Avenger, right? So, and a lot of these characters have now, gotten their own franchises. So it's an important cover. How many number ones of anything do you find but a number one Golden Age cover?
Very true. And yeah, this is again another 82-year-old cover, same year as the other one.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, you just don't see stuff like this too often. And it's amazing that the Robinson estate has been able to hold it back for that long. But, sweet. It's great. It's wonderful to see.
A lot of these were on tour in museum shows for years and years. The only reason we got it when we did is that the show, they finally ended the show. I got back some of my artwork after years. I think.
Which show was that?
7 years. It's the one that Fred Manzano put out that started in Paris and then went to the Far East and all the rest.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I mean, obviously I didn't get to see it, but we did run some PR for that, I think, when it first started. That's interesting. I didn't realize it was going on that long. I thought it was only a couple year tour. Wow.
I've said it before. If you're involved with these museums and institutions, they hate it, but they love it. That they put on a comic show or whatever. The attendance, the amount of literature that they sell, licensed products, is through the roof. It surpasses just about anything else, and that's why they compete to get it. So if a show starts in one place, you think you're lending your art and it's going to go to one place. Next thing you know, another instance, hey, it's already done. It's already curated. It's already complete. They'll make an offer to the other institution and the curator to put it in the next museum. Mm-hmm. In fact, I might be wrong, but that the show that started at the Bremen Museum, now going back probably 15 years, is still going on around the United States. Jerry and I had a lot of artwork and a lot of other people, and Jerry wanted his artwork back, and they made copies, and the museums are now only showing the copies, and it's still super successful.
That's wild. I hope that you continue to get a free flight and hotel arrangements wherever your art was going.
Sometimes I never push for it, but you got to bring that up to your buddy Albert, who has traveled the world. The world.
He Albert has gotten around thanks to his art. That's why I think he was at Heroes this year because the Marvel exhibit was there. He would never have been there for any other reason than that. But free hotel, free flight, and and a dinner. So and thank you, David Wetzel, for saying thank you for sharing the amazing art and history. It's always fun having you on, Joe, because we always get some history lessons from the hobby and just the business in general. So I always enjoy getting to hang out with you, looking at the artwork too. Let's see here.
I
So complete Dan DiCarlo story.
Of what?
Josie 1.
Josie number 1, the complete issue. So this is the first appearance, published appearance of Josie, which later, of course, becomes Josie and the Pussycat. So this is the first appearance of Josie, Melody, Pepper, and the Boys Who Loved Them, created by Dan DiCarlo. He originally had an idea for a comic strip called Josie, and when it was rejected, he approached Archie, and then they accepted, and that's how it was launched. The later they changed the title to Josie, and then it became Josie and the Pussycats, and with issue 45. Now, a little thing that needs clarification. According to CGC or maybe Overstreet, I think it's Archie's Pals and Gals number 42 or something like that. They say is the first appearance, but we researched it back to the copyright, the Office of the Copyrights in Washington, and this predates any other appearance by a month. So this is the first appearance. And it's the complete book. When do you find that?
Not too often.
Yeah. Never been on the market, never been even in the hands of, anybody else. I can't say where it's from, but it's new to the market. Let's put it that way for sure.
Well, it's only at $3,100 now. How many pages total is this?
27, I think.
Yeah, group of 27. You're right.
Yeah.
Wow. So late 62, early 63. So we're talking 60 years old on this. That's
the copyright was, I think, December of 62.
Well, that's a nice one. I mean, everybody needs.
I can't go by the highest price when I'm doing a sort for you guys. I got to go a little bit with what I think is going to end up high,
right,
or be of interest at least.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was just to say, everybody needs a DiCarlo or two in their collection, in my opinion. Yeah. I have one, so I need to get a
Bob Montana, for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
We have a couple of nice Bob Montana pieces in the auction as well. We have a page from Pep, I think 32 or something like that.
Nice. I don't have anything by Montana. I wouldn't mind having one.
There's now been some nice dailies. Again, I don't know if I should say this, but again, from a source that these have never been on the market and pristine. So usually when I say that, it's from a professional or from the artist family or from something, but it's like I enjoy that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, heck yeah. I'm sure, there's so much great artwork in the hands of people that neither of us would even imagine, right? I mean, that's the fun part of this hobby is just, seeing
that's what we hope
like that. Yeah. Well, right. We do hope, but it's out there. I mean, it's just a question of,
I know. I'm hoping to see some Marvel covers at some point, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff I'd like to see pop on the market too. But I think here's a Boris Vallejo. I mean, I think we might have talked about one the last signature auction or maybe the one before that. But I've always loved Boris's stuff, and this is just a really classic image. I think I've seen it numerous times in the past. I mean, this is great.
This is the cover of this is where it all began for him. Savage Sword, the Marvel magazine. And this is Savage Sword of Conan number 12. And if you know what number 1 looks like and you see his earliest work, you'll see that I don't want to say it was cartoony, but it was not. It was a departure from this. Okay. Mm-hmm. By here, he had started to develop his style, where his underpainting was, the raw umber acrylics. Really polished, and then adding the oils over the top of it and getting that beautiful skin tone. And Conan is magnificent. Well, the girl's not bad either. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue at that point. But yeah, no, I mean, Boris is fantastic. His stuff from this era is just, it's great. And not enough of his art on calf. I can tell you that. I mean, I wish there was more, but he's a pretty nice guy. I've gotten to meet him a few times in that show in Pennsylvania, and yeah, I mean, he's still painting. And that's
he and Julie they're great.
Mm-hmm.
They're great. Yeah, that's a good one.
We got a Frank Miller, Klaus Janson, Daredevil 190 page.
Yeah, I included this because this is, this is the sequence that everybody knows, with the resurrection of Elektra. Elektra is dead, issue 190. This is in the graveyard, I think it is. That's where this occurs. And they were ready to, kill her off for good to make sure nothing ever happened. But, Matt or Daredevil got to her first and then tried. I don't remember what they called it, but he tried to resurrect her. And it turned out that prior to Stone, who's ready to, cut off her head there,
right?
He realizes that Daredevil left thinking that he had no effect, and it turned out that he was able to quote unquote cleanse her, and therefore she was worthy of being resurrected. So next thing you know, Elektra is back. So historic, Frank Miller, Jansen, the whole bit.
Mm-hmm. No, it's I mean, one of the more, there's so many memorable storylines from Frank Miller's Daredevil run, but yeah, I mean, it was a tragic moment, when Matt felt he had failed, couldn't clean her, and so no, this was pretty awesome. Makes me want to go back and read Daredevil again. So it's something I dust off every 4 or 5 years and read, but you see that it makes you want to go back and.
I actually tried. I have all my reprint books and everything here, and I'm looking, and the only one I can't find, which means it's still packed somewhere, was Daredevil. So I had to go online to actually go back and make sure I was remembering this correctly.
Well, it's a very nice piece. Now we got an X-Men 2 page from Kirby.
Yeah, this way, this is so you and I always go back and forth. You always go back to X-Men as your favorite was Cockrum, and then I always have to say, well, how about Jack Kirby? And this is where it all began. This is X-Men 2. These pages don't show up anymore. We at one point broke up the X-Men 1. And those pages have disappeared, and now this is a page from X-Men 2, and you got the whole team and Dr. and Professor X.
See, they had so much to say in that panel. They decided they could have moved those word balloons down there over their feet, but they covered their faces. I'd like to see if the art. I know the art's got to be underneath there, though.
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, I mean, it's for me. Kirby didn't make my top 5. He would have been in my top 10 though, as far as X-Men artists go. We've had that
very
debate.
Big of you. Very big. We appreciate that.
I've actually managed to. Well, at any rate, I do like this page. My issue for Kirby, I always say this to everybody, would be issue 10. I'd love to get something from the Savage Land issue. I think that would. I would. Oh yeah. I would spend extra money on getting a page from that book. I mean, it's just a memorable story. I feel like of the first 10 issues, the artwork in that one is, for me at least, the best. And if I was going to get one Kirby X-Men example, it would be from that book. Well, how about 6 with the Submariner? It wasn't Submariner in 6 or 5 with Magneto. Those, people again forget that this was the pattern with all the Marvel comics. Every month
a new villain. I mean, the Blob and the Vanisher and what's his name, Eunice the Untouchable, and I mean on and on. So unless I'm remembering it wrong, but that's the way that that was the secret to early Marvel, and that's what set the tone for Marvel for the next 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
What is this at?
It's at 10 right now.
Yeah, that's gonna sell.
Oh yeah.
And one of your pages here.
There we go. See, Byrne was up there for me.
Why don't you talk about this one?
Well, this is from issue 121. So, I mean, I think everybody who has an affinity for Alpha Flight, looks upon those two issues that they debuted in incredibly fondly. I mean, the artwork, for me, this is still I like the early Byrne stuff, and this is kind of right on the cusp of where Austin's inks start getting a little bit more polished and stuff on it. So, but it's still in an era that for me is, one of my, this is to me is desirable because it still kind of falls in that early Byrne, Austin period. But again, getting something with Alpha Flight on it. You got North Star in there too in this one. You got Bamps from Nightcrawler. Again, all that stuff. And unfortunately, Cyclops is getting knocked out here. But I know that happened pretty much in every issue. We talk about Cyclops all the time because Cyclops is my favorite X-Men, and he's always getting knocked out or beat up by Storm.
Yeah, but look, I mean, it looks like that, but I mean, he doesn't. I mean, that center panel is pretty good. That's a pretty dramatic Cyclops panel. I mean,
I agree. So again, yeah, very
and like you say, it's the second Alpha Flight, and it's got Aurora and Shaman and North Star. I think Wolverine's in this, isn't he? Just suiting up somewhere, isn't he? Scroll up, maybe I'm wrong.
No, not in this one, but
yes. He might be in there somewhere.
He could be hiding. Oh, there he is. I'm sorry. He is actually hiding right there. Look at that.
There he is. Yeah,
I couldn't look at him. I was too busy looking at Shaman and the idols coming out. But yeah, there he is. Yeah. Why did he bother to suit up? It's like they all knew him. He could have just dove in there and started slugging it out. But no, again, great page, Byrne. I'd be happy to be an owner of this one. Yeah. And then, it's good. You're following that up with a Perez pick, Tom Smith, Avengers 10. From Perez's run, this period of the book is this is one of the more memorable covers, I think, from the run. It was just fun. I mean,
look how many characters. I mean, I think it features. Let's see. This anniversary celebration, Senate stage, Justice, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Firestar, the Grim Reapers in the background. The balloons feature another 15 or so Avengers. So this one's got a lot going for it. Very typical Perez, very busy, puts a ton into it. Amazing the amount of work he put into covers and every page, and could stay on deadline. I mean, the guy. I said it when we first started doing this. I said to you that the single most underrated guy was Perez, and then he died shortly after, right? And then now everything is kind of evened out. It used to be. The weird thing about the Perez market is if a handful of people liked it, it was through the roof. If those 2-3 people were not into it, the price would be half or less. Now it's a consistent, very consistent market.
Yeah, very true. But I know. I think we featured a piece in the CAF update last week. Perez was just a madman when it came to the detail that he put into a piece. And he, I know this isn't an action sequence, but he could draw fight scenes on covers or interiors like nobody else. Keep everything in pristine detail, and his compositions were above average all the time. I mean, and yeah, this is gorgeous. And what do we have? We're just over 10 on this one.
Yeah, I mean, Perez stood tall during that whole period where DC was moving into other things, you know, the whole Frank Miller and everybody else. But, you know, Perez was still in the middle of it, and Crisis is just as important as any of those other books. So, come on, it is what it is.
I agree. I mean, Perez got me to read Crisis. I wasn't a DC fan, but I had to read it. Yep. I didn't know didn't know much about what was going on, but I love the art, and the story was good to keep me focused on it. But yeah, so what do we got here? We got a Busemma Conan cover here.
Yeah, we had the Barry Smith. Now we've got Busemma, and you know, this is with, you know, the beautiful girl Baylet and the Queen of the Black Coast there, and I mean, that is a classic for Busemma, a look for that, you know, the girl. And I mean, it's just a beautiful cover. He does a great job. He did a great job.
Yeah. No,
that was his favorite thing to draw. He enjoyed doing, you know, figures like this much more than the costumed superheroes. Because he could really, go to town with anatomy.
Well, yeah, it's a great image. It really is.
Yeah. I mean,
I haven't seen this.
I know. I think Baylet is one of the most pop. You know, that's what people want in a Conan. So,
no, it's a good pick. It's at 14.5 right now.
Yeah, it might be an opportunity there.
True. And now we have Neil Adams, Tom Palmer Avengers page from issue 95.
Yeah, the classic team up of Adams and Palmer, page 7 from the Kree War story arc. You got Captain America, you got Iron Man, you got Thor, you got Goliath, you got Rick Jones, you got the Vision, you got Triton, and you have that beautiful Adams work with the polish of Palmer. It just, yeah, I had to feature this one.
Yeah, no, that I love Adams and Palmer on the Avengers work. I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, we've seen a few pages in the last couple of years from this era come up a few times, and they're just, you know, they're all just great to see. I mean, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
And Adams is not someone that I've owned any published stuff by. Sorry to say. But the hits just keep on coming here. We got a Bernie Wrightson Swamp Thing page here. Is this, let's see. Oh, Swamp Thing's 4, page 2 from 73.
Yeah, I had to feature this because of that center panel. I mean, not only is it a great Swamp Thing page, but, you know, Bernie is the master of Gothic horror. And, I mean, look at that center panel. Tell me that's not like Frankenstein and, everything that we know he's going to end up doing. I mean, it's creepy. It's and it's in the middle of the Swamp Thing story, so it's beautifully rendered. Look at the detail he put in there. He went to all of the trouble of putting in all the detail. Look at the Swamp Thing figures above. He really did a nice job. Tons of detail. Yeah,
no, it's great. I was kind of admiring his use of Zipatone on there too, because you think about it, all the ink work that he put into that, right? And just to make it be as amazing as it was, and he still chooses to use the Zipatone, and it looks perfect. You know, I mean, it wouldn't have been the same if he wouldn't have used it. And you think about, you know, that was a conscious choice of his. He could have just said, you know what, my lush brush work is all I need, but he adds that in there, and it really changes.
I mean, look at above the upper right corner of that panel. See how dark it is, the background. So he's using one type of Zipatone, in the front, and he's taking the time to darken it and make sure it's that really mood I mean, it's all right. The perspective, it's vanishing point going out into the distance at the point of the airplane. I mean, everything about it is correct. The shadows in the foreground also showing the perspective going off into the distance. From a artistic point of view, the spokes of the wheels with the subtle touches of white to accent the shadows and the movement. It just got, the more you know about that kind of stuff. I mean, and I'm not the artist drawing, so I mean, I'm an idiot compared to these guys, but you have to admire this. Look at the cross matching there in that first panel, how he intermixes the white with to get the subtlety. I mean, he just made every panel beautiful.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, he's the best when it comes to this gothic horror brushwork stuff. I mean, all this is great. And again, this is 73. So it's just 50 years old, but man, yeah, fantastic.
Well, he was really, and again, that's the point where he was really trying to, make his bones, and he's trying to show the world what he could do. So that's when you want it at their peak.
Nope, I am with you on that one.
Nice page.
And now it's a big twist from Swamp Thing, but the Shogun Warriors #1. I mean, who doesn't remember? If you're a kid in the 70s, how could you not remember this beauty from Trimpe and Milgram, right? I mean, that's awesome. Brings I remember looking at this at my the local drugstore and being amazed. I don't remember if I bought it, but I remember the cover on the newsstand.
I'm with you. And this, I was surprised when I saw this, and it was 79. It seemed to me those toys became popular in the 80s, but it wasn't. The 24-inch, Shogun, the toy line. I mean, those were done by Mattel, so it was in the late 70s. So it's amazing. Mm-hmm. And this is again fresh to the market. I believe this is again, read into it what you want, but this has never been out before, and it's the first appearance this issue of all the characters. Raideen, a trio of giant robots, the Shogun Warriors, rich, on and on. I don't know, the storyline was fine, but it's wasn't really my thing at the time, but.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't too into Shogun Warriors or Transformers early on either. But
Transformers, there's an entire the community collecting Transformers. Yeah. I mean, those go back to the Japanese toys and on. I mean, they are passionate. That's going to be a big thing. I mean, it already is, but it's going to be bigger and bigger. I'm telling you.
Well, that one's that's
my
a nice
my
one.
Grandkids, 9 and 6 and 7. I mean, they all know that. It's
right.
So you're already into another generation.
So here we have Erik Larsen from Amazing Spider-Man 324. We got the title page here, and I mean, it's definitely era, right? With as far as Larsen, it's the period you'd want to get a piece from him. I think just the way he drew Spidey, but there's so much detail in this thing. I don't know who's webbed up here, but just all the work in the webbing there and the way that he handles the lighting around the Spidey, it's perfect. I mean, if this would be like the Larsen example you could get and not need another one.
Yeah, I mean, this is only the second issue of Spidey that he did. He was doing fill-in work for McFarlane before taking over the series. And we've talked about it before. What's hot? All of the guys that were the original Marvel guys that went to Image. And that's why the Larsen market has been so high now. along with obviously McFarlane, Liefeld, and Lee, and all the rest. But Larsen is the guy that he went to Image, and he became the guy that kept it all together over there.
Yeah, that's very true.
And his work in Spider-Man was underrated because he was extremely popular. It still, it still was a great selling book.
Yeah, no, indeed, this is cool. And as a layout for a title page, odd, right, with the Nisha on the side and the way that's done, but interesting.
Putting in some work.
Yes,
giving it some thought.
Now we got now this one. Was this one ever up for sale before? If it looks familiar, but maybe it's something I've seen on CAF. I don't know. But it's Graham Ingalls, Haunt of Fear 27. So it's pretty nice. Yeah,
I mean, not many Ingalls covers come up. I always admired Ingalls. You're talking about Wrightson influence. I mean, look at the line work. Sometimes we talk about it, I guess. I like guys that had very unique lines, Robert Crumb and, Adams and Kubert and like Graham Ingalls and Wrightson. I mean, their style is unmistakable. And I mean, look at this. I mean, talk about gothic horror and macabre. He was ideally suited for this type of stuff.
Oh yeah, without question. I mean, this is what year was this? 54. So
yeah,
not too shabby. This is a nice cover.
Yeah, he was the main artist for Haunt of Fear. I think he did, like from issue 11 to 28, something like that. So he's. And he was, by all accounts, one of the nicest guys. Everyone that knew him, George Evans and Frazetta and all those guys, he found when he was able to get work for all of those guys. He gave Frazetta his first job. So, he gave him his first opportunity. So he was a good guy. Nothing more to say.
I don't know a lot about him, but love his work. So then we've got what do we got? A Spider-Man McFarlane page.
Actually, if you go up to the banner, I think there's 3 pages from the same issue. So they're all individual lots, but they're all from and they're all from the Morbius, the Living Vampire storyline, and they're all. I mean, look at the work at these things that McFarlane did. I mean, to me, he's looking to emulate Graham Ingalls and Wrightson. I mean, look at that. If you click on the other pages, you'll see it is time. But I thought this was the best page.
Has Todd ever said Wrightson was somebody who he appreciated as a creator? I mean, he must have, clearly, but
say that again. I didn't hear you.
Has McFarlane? I mean, I haven't read or watched too many interviews with McFarlane. Has he cited Wrightson as as somebody who's an influence on his work?
I don't remember hearing that in an interview, but McFarlane said that everybody, he was all about trying to improve his skills to the point to get a job. His famous interviews are always, I submitted something every single day to every single company over and over and over and got rejected. I don't remember how many hundreds of times. And he kept trying to change his style and hone it. And so he tried anything and was influenced by everybody prior to that. So, I would be shocked if he wasn't.
Well, all 3 pages are great. I mean, they're very Mobius centric, but still, I mean, they're all pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And well, we got Amazing Spidey 8-page by Mr. Ditko.
Yeah.
This one's only at 21 right now. Is that right? I'll hit refresh.
Well, Spider-Man's not in costume, which gives you the opportunity to own a really nice Ditko page with Peter and the gang and the villain, quote unquote. I know where the splash page lives.
Yeah, this is. I mean, I remember
it's behind
this
me somewhere.
I thought I could say that. But yeah, I know. I hear you. I mean, when who knows what affordable means for a Ditko Spider-Man page, even without Spidey, in costume on it. But at least you got Peter Parker in there. So
yeah, and this one might be. I didn't check the story, but this is page 3, so this could be either the second or the first page that the Terrible Tinkerer appears on.
Well,
the robot.
I'm going to put this in my watch list so I can see where it ends up.
Yeah.
Because something like that, you never know. I mean,
yeah,
where those Ditko pages, I mean, it's issue 8 at the end of the day. So, I mean, who knows where it could end up. Then we got go ahead.
Is another one that's I'm shocked it came back on the market. This is Norman Mingo, the famous Godfather cover. So this is 1972, features all the characters from The Godfather by Norman Mingo with Alfred E. Dubin. The wedding scene.
That's crazy, from Mad 155.
Yeah. I think the story was called The Odd Father.
But of course.
Yeah.
I mean, Mingo's art's always, I've always enjoyed it. I mean, who hasn't? If you grew up on Mad, then you just loved every issue that came out, especially for the covers. And you always were curious to see what they were going to mess around with, But yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned it before, but Jim Halpern will tell you that Mad may be the single most important publication that came out in the 50s and 60s, because it literally changed how people thought. And it's cited by so many people in the movie business and the entertainment businesses, because it just expanded everybody's idea of what was acceptable and cynical and humorous at the same time. But it made people stop and question things. It didn't have ads, so you felt like you weren't being pulled in any direction. So what people might not realize, I don't have numbers in front of me, but I remember Al Feldstein telling me that the Mad hit its circulation peak, I believe, in 1971. So right around this time. And I think that the biggest selling issue might have been as many as 6 million copies, or some crazy number. So
hard to imagine.
Yeah, this is where, this was actually Mad's peak period, not the early stuff, not the stuff later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to see. It's
great opportunity to get a really historic cover.
Yeah. Same price as the Mingo. We got this Bruner Doctor Strange cover from issue 28. I mean, look at that thing. There you got plenty of Zipatone, great lush inks from Bruner.
Bruner's work on Doctor Strange. I mean, we've over the past few years, we've sold for the first time that stuff came on the market. I think the cover of 1, 2, 3, 4. So, and every one that came out kept reaching a new record price. But look at the work he did at this point. I mean, this is just beautiful. That's what Bruner was into. He loved doing Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I mean, he was born to do that, or Howard the Duck, right? But no, Doc Strange.
I don't know if anybody was born to do Howard the Duck.
Well, he drew him well, as good as Gene Colan.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, clearly his work on Doctor Strange is what he's most known for. But yeah, I mean, look at that. This just in the way he's handled the cloak on Strange, or his shirt. I mean, everything in there. It's just beautiful.
Beautiful. And this does feature the in-betweener, who's the cosmic entity who exists as the, one of the big, talk about the big macro concepts. You've got him. He's life and death, reality, illusion, good and evil, logic and emotion, existence and nothingness. It's all encompassed in him. So there's some grandiose ideas going on there.
Yeah, very nice. And a Foom cover.
Well, I had to do. Whenever you have a Romita senior cover, you gotta talk about it.
Yeah, with Esposito Inks, Foom 8, 74, Cap and Bucky taking down a bunch of Nazis. I mean, what more can you ask for?
Image, the friend. Foom means the friends of old Marvel. It was the prozine that Marvel put out. So, it's a great Romita image.
And it's only $3,500 right now.
I don't know what the deal is, but I'm sure it won't end there.
No, I'll definitely put this one in my watch list too. But yeah, it shouldn't. And anywhere close to that. Well, here you go. A super classic Captain Marvel cover from Starlin and Milgram.
Yeah.
And holy smokes, look at this thing. If you're a fan of the Avengers, Captain Marvel, and cosmic stories, this is your cover. Wow.
Yeah. And this is classic Starlin anatomy and everything else. And you also had, the guys that become so popular, Drax, Eros, and you got Captain America, the Avengers, Black Panther, Captain America, Thor, Vision, Iron Man, side by side with a couple of big. I mean, I think this is going to go. I think that's a 6-figure cover.
Well, if not, it should go close to there, right? I mean,
what is that?
It's at 18 right now, but obviously it's hard to imagine it not going over to at least to 80, if not more. I mean, it's so nice.
Yeah, so, my estimate I think was 75 to 100.
Yeah. No, I mean, because it appeals to a lot of people. If you're an Avengers fan, Cap fan, Captain Marvel, it hits all the right buttons. I mean, you're not going to have a cover with that many prime heroes from that era like that. And again, it's Starlin Milgram. It's the team you want when you're thinking of a Starlin book. So
1974. No, it's that's a good one. And no doubt about it.
And again, this Mazzachelli.
Yeah,
everybody wants a Mazzachelli. So, but not everybody can have one.
I have to feature everything Daredevil because he's so hot. I mean, every Daredevil, doesn't matter who did it. It's and you go back, and now it turns out that all of the guys that are so appreciated work on Daredevil.
Yeah, this is great.
Beautiful.
And I love the fact that first panel. Yeah, even with the first panel where he's just hinting at bricks, I think it's so smart. I mean, Mazzachelli was a true artist, and he really kind of drew things as he felt they should be. All of the shadow on the building. I mean, this is a gorgeous gorgeous piece, and surprising to be at 52.50 right now. But people are there. There's a couple dozen people eyeing the page, right? There's just no way it's going to end up there, because anything Mazzachelli, Daredevil, it's hard to touch under like 17.5 right now, and that's on cheapest pages. That's with no person in costume. I mean, this thing should be a $35,000 or more, page easy. So, so I'll watch that one too. See where that one goes. Yeah. Not that I mean,
like every time, whenever I think about him, I think about him as like, a teacher, a sensei type of a guy. He's like brings that that almost art teacher feel to everything he does. It's well thought out. It's beautifully constructed, and he puts in all the detail, the shadow on the building, like you say. I mean, that's just beautiful. Yeah, it's a good. I had to bring it. I had to put it in.
No,
we have a lot of good things in the sale. I mean, it's not like it's only the top 10 items. This sale, I think there's over 600 lots of comic art. Yeah, he's right.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
What we got here? An Adkins Strange Tales cover.
Yeah.
This is from issue 168.
Yeah, oversized, twice up. Marvel cover from 1968.
Kind of some funky Miro kind of things going on in the background there with the characters or whatnot. I mean, that's nice.
Yeah. I think this is the last issue of Strange Tales, and then before he gets his own title.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
168. I think you're right. Actually, that's
yeah.
You are a historian, Joe.
Yeah. Well, and then you got to be careful with this. You have to read the description. This was done in pieces and put together. So it's
I was looking at that. I couldn't quite tell what was happening there.
No, I can't tell from this image doesn't show it as well, although it's well described.
Right. I mean, is that a stat or is that original? It's hard to say. But like you said, read the description. It's going to be in there.
Yeah. I don't think that the pieces are stats. I think everything's original, but piece one, drawn somewhere else. So that because of the logo. Yeah.
Yeah. Marvel fan says 169 first solo. But
there
you go. Oversized, created in many parts, etc. Fixed on the board later. Top portion logo figures are all single stat. Okay, so it says single stat paste up with replacement code. Hard to say. But yes, read and ask. If people have questions, can they actually
of course. Yeah, we'll pull it in and get a better description.
Okay. I figured you guys must be able to do that if somebody wanted to know.
You don't want to. One of the annoying things is people, as the items gets ready to come up for sale, I'll get an email or I'll get a call from customer service. So somebody's just sent in an email and said, "Can you pull this and describe something on it?"
Everybody waits till the last minute.
In a heritage, I mean, to go and find the thing and we don't stop the sale to describe it. It's classic.
I hear you. Did Joe K1 though? Did Adkins work with Wally Wood as an assistant? I mean,
Wood had
a lot of assistants. I don't remember Adkins.
No, Adkins was one of his main guys. Yeah.
Okay.
What's that? The series they did for Powers, Thunder Agents and all. I mean, Adkins did a ton of that work. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, Joe.
That was his mentor.
Oh, this is Jeff Jones and an I'm Age or Image artwork. I had George Pratt here at the house a couple months ago, and he brought the original artwork for the I'm Age logo. I don't know if I have a picture of it. If I do, I'll send it to you. But it was he had worked it like 3 or 4 times on the same board, trying to get it where it looked really, like it started out really looking like the word image, and then slowly kind of transformed into I'm Age. But it was cool to see, and and George brought it with some other stuff because we were talking to an art restoration person. But I was like in shock to see something like that, that something you never even knew existed, and to see that George had that, it was pretty awesome. But
Cool.
Jones's stuff is highly sought after. I mean, if I was to ever get anything by Jeff Jones, I'd love to get one of these pages.
Nadia really wants something by Jones, and something like this is delicate, beautiful, really. I mean, there's no way to describe it any other way but beautiful. It's a 1-page story. It's complete and absolute peak. I think we have a couple of nice paintings by Jeff in the auction. I don't even think I featured them.
Well, here's one here.
Yeah.
And then this one requires, it's topless. Well, we can't look at that, can we?
It's not that bad.
Most of them aren't. You guys are always pretty strict, on stuff. Yeah, no, this is nice. Yeah. It's art at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's probably it's probably pretty large. Yeah, 14.5 by 32.5.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
beautiful,
impressive.
Delicate. Yeah, beautiful piece.
Wow. Wow. And then this is nice. Wrightson, Edgar Allan Poe portfolio piece.
It's such an odd thing that for years and years, Wrightson paintings did not sell for much. They didn't sell for anywhere close to his pen and ink work. And now everything painting is taken off. Alex Ross, Wrightson. I mean, everybody. What's the price on this? It's already
31.
Yeah. I mean,
no, that's really nice, and I know what you mean. I think early when 22 years ago when I started collecting, the Wrightson paintings they just kind of paled in comparison. But now, there's too many savvy collectors in the market right now. They love, they love color work. A lot of them, and these things.
They love the idea of putting a finished piece up on the wall. As a full color painting is considered a fully finished piece, where as opposed to production art in the eyes of people who aren't as savvy about it. But it's just how to put it on. I mean, This is for the limited edition portfolio from Edgar Allan Poe, and it's a beautiful job.
Yeah,
very moody. 1976.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah,
I saw somebody, Matt Ballmer, asked me any good art restoration people you could bring in to do an interview. I actually did an interview with the woman who Pratt was meeting with. And I haven't edited it. I have to get it on the site or on the channel. So some point I will. Her name was Alexandra Von Hawk. But I did. There is an interview out there with the man who's incarcerated right now. If you dig deep enough for art restoration, I think I did it in my first year that I was doing stuff. But well-known person in the hobby. He's done a lot of restoration for a lot of people over the years, just not right now. But it's out there, definitely.
But he wasn't did he go into much technical detail, or just
a little bit?
He really was a self-trained guy, because he used to call me and ask me things, and because I had a degree in that stuff. And
well, that's the thing, in our hobby, everybody's kind of a self-trained guy, right? I mean, most of them don't have the true restoration, background where they were, where they could actually go into a museum and work for them. The woman that I met a woman here in Central Florida that is, like she was taught by Russian archivists, and so she can do anything from art to she worked on like John Lennon's glasses, the oval ones, to get them back to market. So she's really classically trained, and so very different. She's the kind of person that, when I did my thing, she literally documented every step of the process,
exactly.
That's what you're supposed to do. And typically, when we as comic art collectors kind of turn to the usual suspects, and it doesn't mean that they're bad, it's just that they're not properly trained in the way you're supposed to treat art restoration, because you're supposed to get a full documentation of what they're going to do, and then throughout the whole process they photograph everything, so they show you what they've done, they hand all that over to you when the process is over.
And then they make one of the real important points is it's got to be reversible, like we were talking about with varnish, and the types of, if they're doing touch up, or you got to be careful, because if the typical guy will throw in some bleach or peroxide into water to whiten paper, that if they're really using real bleach, that breaks down the lignin in the paper and will weaken paper instead of strengthening it. Then if you do something like that, there is an archival type of bleach, and then there are archival ways of whitening, and then you can add a substance which replaces the lignin and makes it even stronger than it was before, and makes the paper also acid neutral. That's all very important in the concepts. We don't want to get into that too much, but anyway, next. As Albert would say, next.
Where's Albert when we need him? Let's see here. So Wally Wood Daredevil page. We've seen a few of these out on the market of late, but they're always fantastic because there's so few of them. This is a great page.
So this was not in the original description, but when I was I looked at this page, I said, wait a minute, this is page 2. I got this page. And again, this is new to the market from a source that it's never been on the market before. And this is the first appearance of the Matador, because we sold the Splash. Daredevil, the Matador is not on the Splash. So this is the first appearance in the book of the Matador. Now, don't get me wrong, it is the Matador, which is a little, but beautiful work. I mean, one of the, Wally Wood really going to town on this.
That's really nice page. Yeah,
beautiful.
It's a great panel there. Lighting's nice. Shadow's great on that one. What are we at? 5250 on this one.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be a lot more than that. I'll tell you that.
And now somebody you know very well or knew very well, Mr. Infantino. Yeah. Joe Giella inks on this one. 12-page story.
Yeah. But that's the part that's, really stands out. This is a 12-page complete story. Doorway to the Unknown. This was the backup story of that book, but it won the Alley Award for the best short story of 1964. So this was it's, if you haven't read that, it's a really good story, because this guy that's talking to the Flash ends up actually either being a ghost or an apparition, or we don't even know, because he kind of appears, tells the Flash a story, and then we find out he was dead before this occurred. So it was one of the first stories of the Silver Age where you had this paranormal sensibility going on.
Interesting. And so you get the whole story here, all 12 pages. Huh. Oh, nice. And what are we at? 8250 on that one.
Yeah.
So Sam Keith Venom. Everybody likes Sam Keith.
Strong, unique line work. Sam Keith. He's right there in the discussion. of the more modern guys for sure. I mean, look at that. That is.
What year is it? So 2003. Okay.
Yeah, this is 2003. Yeah, while this also has a gothic horror feel to it, it's really more Baroque than that. But it's a snow scene, night. That's why he was so suited. He's so suited for Sandman. It's amazing.
Mm. Yeah, very nice.
And he's very hot. Sam Keith is hot. Another one of the Marvel artists that Image, the whole bit.
There's definitely not enough of his artwork out there, on the market. I mean, you don't see it. I think a lot of times Keith artwork trades hands between collectors and never really gets out to the auction platforms a lot or dealer sites. So it is, he's one of those guys that'll always be sought after for that reason. Yeah. Then we got a Brian Bolland Batman 400 page from '86.
Yeah, I like this because this is a nice thing to talk about in that this was Bolland doing Batman just before The Killing Joke. So it's almost like his
prelude to
tryout. Yeah, but it's so and they don't turn up. And Bolland is so hot, great page, very different style, right? Than later.
Yeah, I mean it is a little different, isn't it? But very nice. I might actually get to do an interview with Brian in the next month or two.
Oh, cool! You've been trying to do that for a while. We were talking about him for quite a while.
Yeah, I got to do something really short with him as part of somebody else's show about 6 months ago, but it wasn't really an interview. But and then I brought Sergio on with him, and I almost didn't get to say anything after Sergio got Sergio likes to talk, and obviously they had a lot to talk about. So I kind of sat back and just listened, and had a good time, just like everybody else in the audience. But yeah, I think I'm going to get to talk with Brian for a little bit more, one-on-one about a couple different projects and things that are near and dear to him. So fingers crossed on that.
That panel looks a lot like Marshall Rogers, doesn't it?
The one on the
Marshall Rogers,
the one on the right,
left there.
The one on the left. Yeah, I mean I mean,
Batman figure.
It is interesting how how he inked himself in this one. It's just a little different, but it's nice. It's very nice.
This is the first time we're offering a page from issue 400, so it's an anniversary issue, and it's Batman and it's Bolland, so it's cool.
Wow. And it's already at 40,000. That's nothing to sneeze at either. But that's try to find a Killing Joke page these days. Not possible. Then what do we got? We got an early Adam Hughes here. Look at that. Classic X-Men 74.
Yeah, they didn't come up much, so I thought that's nice as to change pace a little bit. Adam Hughes, the master of the beautiful woman.
Definitely. And he always drew Peter like he was like always in shock. He's just that poor Russian dolt. But I mean, I love it. I've got I think this is a good one. That's fun so it's it has 91 written in on this down here in the signature. So yeah, that's nice. That's early. Yeah. Jeff Moy approves, I think, because I know, Jeff, you like Adam. Well, we all like Adam's work a lot, but Jeff has quite a few pieces by Adam, I think. So, yeah, this is a nice one. What's this? There we go. Kirby Stone Avengers 6-page classic 9-image panel. Really?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's nice. Look at that. Those 3 shots there, that's fantastic. The whole page is great. It's all great.
A lot of action, a lot of classic Kirby figures. One panel going into the other, the action being directed for you. Early Avengers, they don't turn up again. And we have consecutive pages from this. I believe we have the next page or page before or page after as well. Yeah,
I like this one.
That's a good one. And Chickstone Inks, Giant Man and the Wasp, which are so hot. Who would have ever thought you'd hear that? But there you go.
Not often. I mean, back in the day, those are the pages you could get for nothing, right? I mean, nobody wanted those.
And Ant-Man, you know,
right?
I mean, my God, Ant-Man. Me, I'm a big Ant-Man fan. I actually own the complete first appearance.
No, that's that you don't own it any longer.
I do.
Oh, you still do? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Dang. We got to do another show, Joe, and talk about the art from your collection.
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
we haven't had a Barks, duck oil in a while, so I thought I'd talk about that one. You know, Ancient Persia, one of his most famous stories, and this is one of the paintings he did. He differentiated them by calling them, the green, the blue, whatever. So this is the green Ancient Persia, which is very similar to the cover. Yeah. The book,
is nice.
The book came out, I think it was 4-color, $275, 1950. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's been in.
I think this dates to 73, right? Yeah. And the first Barks recreation was 71. So this is one of his earliest recreations.
I was just going to hop over. I was curious when the last time we've seen a Barks quite like this one on the market. It seems like feels like it's been a couple of years. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
but
that's what I think.
Let's see. I'm just going to check. Sorry, I'm curious. I have to find out. Let's see. I'm just going to look at Barks artwork that closed over 50 in the last few years. 19, 20, 21. Yeah, 21 was the last time. It was you had that Karl Barks. It was a Belchfire Roundabout that went for 162, and before that it was 2020 with the then I think that's the one I was thinking about, the Karl Barks surprise party at Memory Pond. That one went for 156. Really nice painting, but again, that's over 3 years ago.
Yeah, so, and those paintings were not the typical recreation. Those were done later. Those were two of the last ones that he worked on, as I recall, and they were done specifically to be a litho. So this is basically a new concept where all of the earliest, when people approached and found out who Karl Barks was for the first time, they wanted him to recreate some of their favorite, stories and images. So that was the big thing. His first one might be Sheriff of Bullet Valley or, any of the classic things. But later, they were becoming so popular that they needed to auction them, and immediately they started selling for six figures. And then even later than that, there was such a demand that Hamilton was commissioning him to do paintings like this and then putting out the lithos immediately. And the lithos were, of course, worth more than the art if you took them in total. Right. But these paintings are oversized. Then they had more figures in them. But, to me, they don't have the charm of the early recreations. But they're the most valuable, aside from the big money bins.
Sure. Well, that one what was the Barks? Barks was at 62. So
yeah,
definitely room to grow on that one.
He's still a popular guy.
Yeah. Oh, well, heck yeah. Now here we have a Don Heck Avengers from issue 112 from 73. Yeah. So 50 years old on this one.
So this is the issue that introduces the first Mantis who is now popular because of the Guardians of the Galaxies movie.
Mm-hmm.
This one has Scarlet Witch, Black Panther, Iron Man, Black Widow, Thor, Vision, on and on.
No, it's nice. I mean, it's a late kind of Don Heck piece, I guess, but very solid.
But early Bronze Age, 1973.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think we've said 50 years on a lot of these pieces tonight, haven't we? There's a lot of pieces from 73 in here.
I mean, it's amazing.
Let's see here. Oh, look at them early. Yeah. Williams and Lee X-Men page from issue 3.
Yeah. I had to include that.
Yeah, that's nice. At the end of the day, even without a lot of, it's not a lot of action and not a lot of big characters in it, but, there's a lot of collectors who like those first dozen issues of Jim's run on this book, right? I mean, because they're just hard to get. They hardly ever come up. So,
well, X-Men 1 is still together, right? So I don't think that's ever been sold. I mean, it's been sold in unison, but never broken up. So you're not getting X-Men 1. So, yeah, if you want an early page, they're tough to get.
Everybody wants an example. So they're all looking at this one as the one to get, but you watch, that's what'll push the price up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you've got Jean Grey, you've got the Beast, you got Professor X, you got Colossus, you got Iceman, you got Archangel, you got Rogue, you got Gambler, and you got Cyclops. So even though it doesn't appear like they jump out, they're there.
Yeah. Well, I'll add that one to my watch list too.
Yeah. Here's another. I mean, when do you get a complete story from Mad 3? 1953.
Wow.
John Severin doing a parody. This is basically an amalgamation of things that were popular. There was a popular song called "The Sheik of Araby" that went back to Rudolph Valentino and such, but they did this parody of basically a Rudolph Valentino movie type of thing.
Yeah, that's funny. I love the footprints in the back of the sand, and he's reading the same book. Just great stuff.
There's another guy that could do anything. John Severin.
Mm-hmm.
He got all the tough assignments because he could do, he could do Western, he could do war, he could do humor, he could do, just about anything.
Yeah, this is nice.
He's one of those guys that could do a professional job no matter what he was working on. But again, I mean, where do you get a complete Mad story from issue 3?
This might be one of the earliest ones that exist, right? I mean, this is great.
And a lot of the other the classic ones have been broken up. So,
no, that's nice. So it's a 7-page story from issue 3, all Severin, and a classic Zek cover right here, right?
Yeah.
So, nice. Wow.
You got Captain America and Dr. Octopus, so bringing together Spidey and Cap.
Mm-hmm. And everybody needs a Zek, Captain America. I think there's a fan or two out there. Yeah, Alberto Gonzalez. Finally, something worth talking about. I knew Alberto would have his eye on this piece. Yeah. There was we saw Cap in that Starlin Milgram Captain Marvel cover. Just wasn't all Cap, but here you get all Cap, and definitely plenty of.
We've had a lot of Cap. You had that Romita Senior Cap. You had we've probably had Cap drawn by.
He was in that Avengers 6 page too.
Yeah, you have Kirby. You have everybody.
See, so we haven't focused on Cap. That's what's wrong for Alberto. You got to focus on it. Well, here's your focus.
I try and mix it up, but you're never going to make everybody happy.
Alberto, you're the best. So let's see. This one's at 18 right now. Not bad, but again, that one's going to go places too. So then we've got a Al Williamson. Wow. We've been looking at a lot of Williamson stuff because you guys have a Williamson Blade Runner in the weekly auction ending tomorrow. And that Blade Runner piece is really, really nice too. And somebody posted a really nice Star Wars page from, I forget which issue it was from, one of the movie adaptations by Williamson. Just fantastic. So this is a great page too. I mean, this guy's so well suited.
From the movie adaptation, basically. From the scene where they're being dropped into the Rancor pit. So Princess Leia with the outfit, and this is the Jabba the Hutt type of thing. Or no, this is the arena when they're in that quote unquote arena. Yeah, Jabba with Luke being dropped in. Yeah.
No, this is it's classic, absolutely.
And of course,
again,
Al goes on to do so many. He was handpicked by Lucas to do that. He was one of Lucas's favorite artists. So, and none of Al's Star Wars. I don't know if any of his Star Wars strip, the Sunday pages and stuff like that, have ever come out. I think that the family still owns the whole run.
Yeah, well, there was that other auction house that had those pieces, but I can't remember what was the story behind those. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Like storyboards?
No, I can't remember if they were the published images. They were like six 3-page strips, 3-panel strips, but I can't remember what the story was behind those. It was last year when they had a
tryout.
They might have been tryout pages. You're right, but they were William, and they did it pretty well with it because they're so rare, right? I mean, you would never see anything like that. So you're right. There's not a lot of that artwork out there on the market at all. But man, his inks on this stuff is unbelievable. I've always wanted a Blade Runner page. I mean, he's just an amazing artist. And okay, there you go. Joe said they were preliminary strips. So you're right, Joe. So nice piece here. What do we at? 8,000 on that. That one's going to go up higher.
Yeah, I mean, Leia in that slave bikini deal is
exactly
pretty popular.
And C-3PO getting muzzled there a little bit. So it's it's a great image. I mentioned Eastman earlier, so we get an Eastman here, Ninja Turtle page. Casey Jones art here.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
It's very early. I featured this because this is from the issue 1 of when each one of them got their own books. 1985. It's an early Eastman. This one introduced the character of Casey Jones.
Yeah, it's on Duo Shade board too. Looks like.
Yeah, and then later, is it the what's that board called? I don't know. The name escapes me. It's off the top. But it's the chemical. You apply the chemical and the shading comes up.
Yeah.
Duotone.
Is it duotone, duo shade?
Duotone. Yeah.
But very nice, very cool.
Yeah.
And this
and then later he gets his he becomes the action figure, so you get a nice crossover appeal. Yeah. Duotone. Thank you.
Joe says 8 pieces until bedtime. There you go, guys. We're getting there. We're getting to the end of this, but still more good pieces. I mean, to me, this is like one of the most memorable. I mean, there were many early New Teen Titans covers that are memorable. I always really like this one. It just, because it's so classic. The villain drawn larger than life. Everybody's just beating around him like that, and just drawn in a way that it's like classic theater in its own, in a way, like, and George being a thespian. I mean, I think he just knew how to like capture a moment, right? And this thing is, this to me is probably my favorite of the first like 20 New Teen Titans covers. Just it always stood out to me.
And George Perez, New Teen Titans, I mean, prime period. And the next lot is we have consecutive covers. We have issues 22 and 23.
Really? I didn't even know that. Let's see.
If the next lot that I featured. Yeah.
Oh, well, then let's just go over there. 23 then too. Man. See, and it's funny, you know, you look at, you think about George and him just loving to draw multiple characters and just overpower everything, right? With just so much action. And then he does something like this, where the lighting is all, you know, basically obscuring the hands and everything.
Yeah.
And, you know, he doesn't have to worry about detail there. And he's got an in-your-face star. I mean, it's just it's great. It's nice to see because this is so unlike something you would get from George.
Yeah.
So, wow. I still like the other cover more. But this,
I agree. I always like those. I mean, you can't see up there, but I have my favorite early Marvel cover was the cover of Fantastic Four Annual 2, you know, where Dr. Doom is over.
Oh, yeah.
And then Fantastic Four 57 with the head of Dr. Doom and the characters around it. So, you know, Kirby loved doing those kind of covers. I thought those were very memorable. And some of the most memorable Golden Age covers are that way. In fact, I think the cover of the catalog is that famous Punch cover where there's like a skull and all the characters are coming out of the eyes and of the skull. And I mean, that's going to go for a fortune. And that's a Harry Chesler book, which, you know, I mean, nobody cares about.
Mm-hmm.
But it's such a classic image that it's going to go for big, big money.
Marcus was mentioning, and he's right, that because this one is from the 82 series, and this one, although the numbers are right, this is actually the 86.
Oh, he's right. One is 82 and one is 86. I'm sorry, you're right. Yeah.
Marcus, you are, Marcus knows his stuff. Thank you for pointing that out. Let's see. I'm glad you picked some Howard Chaykin artwork. I love his stuff from this period. This is great. Yeah,
well, nice, American flag cover. I mean, that's what he loves talking about, that period.
He doesn't like talking about Star Wars.
You did with him. Yeah, you did a good interview with him. Oh, yeah, I told you don't ask him about Star Wars.
I got him to answer. He's answered that question a couple of times. We did actually do it again in the last show I did with him a couple weeks ago because somebody asked, and I'm like, and maybe I can't remember exactly how the question was phrased, but it was phrased in a way that I felt like I could ask it, and I didn't think he'd get mad at me. So, he was very gracious and answered the guy's question. But yeah, no, I mean, this is
how did he answer it? Was his answer that he didn't know what a big deal it was when he did it because he got the stills and everything before the movie ever came out.
Right. Well, he always starts off with the fact that he gets no royalties, so that's his number one. That he was rushed to do the work, so he always felt like it was not his best work. And I think the royalties probably burn him more than anything, right? But he did always feel like he was rushed because he didn't feel like he did a good job, and it's the one job everybody wants to ask him about. So it's the one that he didn't get the royalties, and he just feels like it's not his top work, for his time. So. And he's an independent kind of guy, right? I mean, he's done great work we did work here with American Flag, and then with other stuff like Black Kiss and whatnot. I mean, he's his own man. I can see. So trying to combine him, right? I mean, he's like the last guy that you would have do a retelling of a script that's so it's already done scene for scene for you. He's the best illustrator as a director that we've almost ever seen in comics. He's so good at it. So when you hand him material where he has to follow, he's basically just filling in a coloring book. I mean, I can see why he doesn't look upon it as like the same creative field that he might have had otherwise.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but anyways, this is a great piece. Not enough, the interiors for this stuff from American Flag, you almost never see. I've always wanted a page, and I've never been able to get one. I've only seen like one or two in my life, in person. And so, these are wonderful. And
I had the cover of one and the splash. So I don't know where that happened. What happened? I think I traded that to Tom Fish.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's Tom's a big first appearance guy at the end of the day. That doesn't surprise me. So we got a Glenn Fabry preacher page, or preacher cover to issue 60. I mean, his stuff it's unmistakable, his painting style. So,
and this is a good one. The Saint of Killers, becomes one of the top protagonists and well known. And this is much more. Some of them are very abstract, and this is a little bit more, straightforward. I think we have several covers in the sale. If you click on to the thing, we might have. There's another one. Another one. 3, 6, How about 7. Before this cover? Is that a Fabry to the? Yeah.
27.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, for years you couldn't find one ever, and now you have the opportunity to get them. And these, what'll happen here? Once these things sell, they'll be absorbed into the market, and they'll just go away. Yeah, 4 covers.
That's a great John Foster painting too. That's wow. Yeah, that's you don't see Foster paintings out there too often. That's pretty slick. Huh. I'm gonna have to. I kind of breezed through everything the other day. I clearly missed a few important pieces out there. Here we got another Ditko piece. This is from Showcase 73.
I even ended. These are just honorable mention. I did 50 of them and then stopped. But then I said, I better. This is. I mean, look what a great creeper page this is. This is from Showcase 73, right? So this is the first appearance of the creeper, and this is a great page.
Yeah, I mean, that center panel is awesome. Everything you'd want in a Ditko image, really. I mean, gosh. Yeah, and Ditko's another guy. I've never owned anything by him. It kills me. At some point, somewhere, I don't know what I can afford anymore. But yeah, this is fantastic.
Hey, you could afford some Charlton artwork, and that's beautiful.
True. I mean, I just want a good example.
He didn't take shortcuts in his Charlton work. It's just underappreciated. Nice Lou Fine, Uncle Sam page from 1941. I mean, where do you find these things?
Huh. Yeah, that's really, really, really beautiful. Huh. That's really nice.
Lou Fine, I've said it many times on the show, if you had to pick the 4 or 5 guys that were the influencers that influenced everybody from the golden age, Will Eisner, Lou Fine, Jack Kirby, Reed Crandall. Those are the guys that everybody emulated. His art was so lyrical. It was great.
This one's 28.8. So you're picking some good honorable mention pieces here. And then this is that Frazetta from Personal Love.
Yeah. Look at that. Go down to the next tier. Look at that panel.
Yeah, that's marvelous.
I mean, who in comics drew like that in the golden age in the 1950s? I don't know anybody that did it later.
Right.
He got away with that inking style, and it was reproducible. I mean, it's just beautiful.
Wow.
And look how few strokes there are on her face. That was his brilliance. He could just suggest, just a couple of touches here and there, and it was, you knew exactly what.
Yeah, that's that is pretty amazing. And what year is this?
53.
Wow. 70 years old for Frazetta. That's great. No, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, we're down to the last one.
Yeah.
Harvey Kurtzman, Will Elder, Little Annie Fanny page.
This is a complete 3-page story. Little Annie Fanny, full color. We've talked about these before, I think, where, the amount of work that Kurtzman and Elder did on these things was incredible. I mean, Kurtzman was such a perfectionist that he would rework stuff over and over and over again, because as soon as he handed it off and Elder drew it, he changed something, and he wanted the colors to be exact. He would do with colored pencils on these overlays of every single color and overlay them and have it for every page.
Yeah, it's awesome. I actually, Anthony had picked up some Frank Thorne, what is that? Moonshine McJugs or whatever, pencil art, like prelim stuff for it. I mean, it's all like classic stuff. I mean, but this, to have finished Kurtzman Elder stuff. I mean, look at this. This is just amazing. I mean, look at all the work just in these panels here, just the facial expressions on that. Just
ton of work. I could go into the whole story about these guys, and they were supposed to do one per month, and they did maybe 7 the first year, and then it went down to 5, then it went down to 3. I mean, and these are 3-page stories. They were supposed to be like 5-page stories and 7-page. And I mean, they just put so much work into every page that and that was the problem with them when they were trying to do Humbug and Trump. When they were lured away from Mad, it was because they were going to try and sell Trump for the same price as Playboy, and they had the first issue out immediately, and then it took 8 months for the second issue or something like that. So they couldn't sell advertising. And meanwhile, they're trying to sell them for whatever the cover price is, and they just couldn't do it. So Hefner pulled the plug on them, but gave them the opportunity to do their own magazine, which was Humbug. And then they ran into trouble with that. Then he gave them the opportunity to do this, which maintained them for the rest of their lives. Wow. But those guys were, I hate to say they were their own worst enemies, but both Kurtzman and Elder were very slow. That's why even with this, they started using assistants, and other people worked on it. There's a famous, Russ Heath, and a famous Frazetta page, and Bill Stout pages, and all the rest.
No, they're fantastic. I would love to have one of these Kurtzman Elder Playboy Annie Fannies myself. I mean, just too classic. But yeah, I mean, I was just reading it. I mean, it's funny. It's very funny. Okay, sorry. But no, I mean, I'm glad you picked that one. That's just the amount of work that went into those is fantastic. But I can see why they weren't able to do it on a monthly basis. But Joe, as always, these are I'm looking forward to seeing where things go. Obviously, like I think probably with most people in the audience, if they can get away from work on Thursday afternoon, we'll all be watching the live sale.
There's going to be 600 pieces of art, so there's certainly something for everybody. And as much as we try, and I don't know if you could hear me because it seems like it's frozen.
Hey, your camera's frozen. I can hear you just fine, but yeah, your camera's frozen at the moment.
That's funny. But anyway, there's plenty of, we keep trying to limit it. We keep doing showcase sales. We keep doing, but the sales keep coming in at 1,300. So we've raised the thresholds, but that's just a testament to how strong the market is. I mean, I would be surprised if the sale wasn't $18 million, 16 to $20 million again. It's unbelievable.
Well, we'll definitely keep our eye on it, and we will do a recap next week. I believe we're going to do it on Thursday. I have to double check that. I think we're going to do it as part of my CAF update. Albert won't be there. Albert's going to Cincinnati. So he's, wherever Jim goes, Albert goes, because he gets his travel in. I don't know what's in Cincinnati that he's interested in seeing there, but Jim's going to be there, so he's going to be there. But I'm sure I'll probably have Nick and Dino and hopefully Mike be a part of our recap for that. But yeah, no, lots of great stuff here. Again, it's the funny thing is when we do our market reports, it always seems like somehow you guys slide in a featured auction that I wasn't aware of. There was like the Archie one that was not too long ago, like a week and a half ago, and I think before that there was an illustration art one. So yeah, there's a lot of material out there still,
and there's going to be the international auction. I don't know if we'll do a preview on that or not.
Oh, that's right. When is that coming up? I saw something
that's at the end of October as well.
All right. I feel like I saw something on like the Heritage site about it when I was trying to look at the auction calendar. If you want to do a preview, well, let me know if you want to do a preview, because a lot of my October right now is still open, Joe. So we could easily do it on a Tuesday night right now if we wanted to.
Okay.
I'd be happy to do it, because there's always good stuff in the international auction too.
Yeah, I'll have to get with Olivier and ask him.
Okay.
He's always so busy, but we'll see.
All right. Well, sounds good. Well, again, Joe, thanks as always. I think we learned many new things today, getting to hang out with you, and if we could do this once a month, I'd do it, because there's always fun stuff that I learn every time we go through these. So I appreciate it, and say hi to Nadia.
I will, and we appreciate the opportunity as always. And as I always say at the end of the show, if anybody wants to contact us, my email is pretty simple: joem@ha.com. If you want to talk about reconciling by consigning to pay for something or something like that, we're here to help. All right.
Well, thank you for that. And, and again, everybody, we appreciate you guys hanging out tonight. We'll be at it again tomorrow, as always, with Mike and Anthony. But have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you again soon.
All right, guys. Take care.